We are going to start with James Hannaham, who is the Dayton Literary Peace Prize 2016 runner-up for fiction for his novel Delicious Foods, an inventive feat of storytelling bravado that captures the pathos and absurdity of addiction. In this uniquely American story of freedom, perseverance, and survival, Hannaham's daring and shape-shifting prose wrestles with timeless questions of love and freedom, forgiveness and redemption, tenacity, and the will to survive. Delicious Foods was the winner of the 2016 PEN/Faulkner Award for Fiction. James Hannaham is also the author of the novel God Says No, which was honored by the American Library Association. He holds an MFA from the Michener Center at the University of Texas at Austin and lives in Brooklyn, where he teaches creative writing at the Pratt Institute. James will be introducing Gyasi's novel Homegoing, runner-up for the 2017 Fiction Award, and he will be accepting the award for her in absentia. James Hannaham.
Thank you very much for that introduction. But this is, it's all about Gyasi. Though you can't exactly categorize it as speculative fiction, Gyasi's ambitious and deeply generous novel, Homegoing, tells an impossible story, a tale that truly cannot be told any other way, a story that details the lives of 14 members of a family of West African heritage over hundreds of years, from 1764 until the present day. Few people have evidence of our ancestors that goes further back than our great-grandparents. Black Americans have a particularly troublesome time tracing our heritage further than the arrival of our ancestors in the United States, especially if they were slaves. The paper trail may cease at any number of moments: the Middle Passage, enslavement, sharecropping, if a paper trail ever comes into existence in the first place. Records remain scarce, and certain types of record keeping may never have occurred, since the lives to which these documents may have referred received neither honor nor respect from a society largely built through their labor. Homegoing tells us the stories of the descendants of two half-sisters, Effia and Essie, daughters of 18th century West Africa, who, though never knowing one another, become separated by local customs, the slave trade, the Middle Passage, and traditional prejudices, and ultimately time itself. One of the half-sisters becomes a slave, and the other remains behind, her legacy roiling with guilt from having aided and abetted the Europeans who began trading African people, taking advantage of the region's tribalism, by procuring their supposed enemies and profiting from their sale. Gyasi implies that this, perhaps the earliest form of what we might call selling out, represents a kind of original sin for people of African descent, the evil from which many of the other evils of the slave trade seem to have erupted. Each chapter of the novel concerns a different family member who is descended from either Effia or Essie during a further moment in time, moving chronologically until this century. The book's structure in particular calls to mind a wide variety of innovative modern works: the multiple voices of Faulkner's As I Lay Dying, the temporal core samples of Jennifer Egan's A Visit from the Goon Squad, and the historical reach of David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas. Gyasi's deep investment and wisdom concerning Africa and America, and the combination of the two, let's call it, raises her work into conversation with Black authors as diverse as Wole Soyinka, Toni Morrison, and Chinua Achebe. By turning these strategies on this incredible tale, she performs a necessary type of healing magic, one could say, helping us to imagine vividly the interconnected nature of humanity, which we often take for granted, and yet must remain alive to at our peril. She personalizes key events in the modern history of Black people in both Africa and America, and allows us to feel the longing and mystery that causes these events to haunt us to this very day. The book demands that we wonder, to whom am I related? To who are my relatives, and what are their stories? Can I ever know the difference between a stranger and a distant relative? These questions have always shaped Black people's lives. It's why we refer to each other as brothers and sisters. Our country deliberately cut us off from each of our specific African heritages, our languages and cultures, and instead of crumbling, we instead created a new family in this hemisphere, recombining to form, as we do in America, a tribe composed of all tribes. And while Black and mixed Americans are used to thinking of anyone with African blood or even African appearance as potential families, many of us are beginning to grapple with the various meanings of our European DNA. None of us, regardless of our skin color, can really point to another person and know for sure that he or she is not a distant relative. This is what Homegoing continuously makes clear to the reader as we savor the adventures of its 14 heroes and endure with them the hardships which stem from their estrangement. That an invisible network of blood relations surrounds us. If we all remained aware of what this astonishing novel brings to light throughout our daily lives, how could the world turn away from peaceful relations on both the level of personal politics as well as global issues? Indeed, Gyasi's book insists, the failure to respect the humanity of our brothers and sisters puts a long-lasting curse on our legacy, all of our legacies, sowing chaos and pain in our personal lives and fomenting brutality and exploitation in the world. We can only change things, this book teaches us, if we learn to cherish our collective kinship. I am extremely proud to accept this award on behalf of Gyasi, the sister I have never met. Thank you very much.